On this episode of AV Week, Harman Pro has a brand new president, private equity investing in the AV industry. And Cisco is suing Neat. All that and more. Next on AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AV Week, episode 440, recorded Friday, January 24th, 2020. Investing in AV.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Atlas IEB, innovative audio solutions for every business environment. And by Daylight, the leading producer of high-quality projection screens worldwide. And by
AV Pro Edge, manufacturer of next-level video distribution solutions.
This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. With us to discuss the news and information we have gathered this week, first and foremost, my buddy in town, Mr. Brock McGinnis from Avitas. Welcome, sir.
Hello, Tim. Good to be here as usual.
Good to see you, sir. A couple newbies, so I guess Brock be nice, and I guess me be nice. First of all, Mr. Michael Lisi from Wolf Vision. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
And also Mr. Chris Gibbs, who we've interacted with quite a bit when around DSD, but Chris is from AVNation, the folks that put on Digital Science Expo. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Happy to be here, Tim.
Awesome. And this, not for nothing, but, you know, I like hockey, and this weekend in St. Louis is the NHL All-Star Game. So I guess go West, if I'm being a homer. Is that right? Yeah, go West. So,
you would be West.
Yeah, I would be West. Here's the problem. I'm so old that I've watched hockey for so long. I remember when the Blues were in the Norris division. So again, you know, all kinds of. If you didn't watch hockey, you wouldn't get any of that. All right, guys. First story actually comes to us and our new editor, Lenore and Lane, talking about Cisco suing somebody again. Cisco is suing Neat and a number of their former employees and former actually Tandberg employees. According to the lawsuit, according to Cisco, quote unquote, Cisco has initiated a legal process against Neat and former employees for violating intellectual property rules. As a first step, the authorities have secured evidence from Neat and the people linked to Cisco's lawsuit. As one might expect, we act resolutely to protect Cisco's significant investment in research and development and valuable intellectual property. Mr. McGinnis, we'll start with you on this. What does this mean for the future of kind of unified communications? You see, Neat is led by a bunch of former Cisco and former Tandberg folks. They say, the Neat folks say, that this is their own stuff, this is their own ideas, that Cisco is overreaching here. So what do lawsuits like this do to innovation and the future of UC?
I don't think it's a problem with innovation. Neat came out of nowhere. They're being funded by Zoom, as I'm sure you're aware, or at least partially funded. And all of a sudden, earlier this year or late last year, they are on the scene. They are a great threat to integrators. It looks like Zoom is going to be in the hardware business, which scared the pants off a lot of big integrators who were trying to make a living selling Zoom rooms. I tend to have a lot of respect for Cisco. I don't think that their patent trolls, their transaction with Tandberg was a long, long time ago. And Neat is no threat to Cisco, so Cisco must believe that Neat is using intellectual property that is rightfully Cisco's, because they're not a threat. This is not like the Clear One and Sure brouhaha that's going on in another segment of the industry. So I think it's fascinating to watch. I think that this will set Neat back a bit, and I don't think that most of the traditional AV industry is going to mind that.
Okay, very good. Mr. Lisi, you work for Wolf Vision, a manufacturer. You have nothing, at least as of right now, I know of any sort of interaction with this lawsuit. But as a manufacturer, what do things like this do? Not only as we're all going into ISE, which is a huge trade show, Cisco will be there. but also when you're interacting with your clients and you're trying to communicate, the stability of your business, the stability of your company, even in the midst of a lawsuit like this, where somebody is claiming the things you're selling is violating, their rights.
Well, I think the biggest challenge here, and why I think any manufacturer should be afraid of these kinds of things a bit. And also, I think we need to consider how we can protect companies like Neat, because Cisco knows how to play the game. They've got an army of lawyers. And if you just look at their past habits, I mean, look at how they neutralized Huawei and ZTE before they became a threat, simply by kind of a red scare tactic, moving into Congress and saying, oh, they're spying on us, and they've got all kinds of spyware on every switch, and they've got a lot of people saying, hey, if I was you, I wouldn't put any important data on a Huawei network switch. And that was right after Huawei showed up at Interop with a booth that rivaled Cisco's with immersive telepresence and such. They hired a lot of great channel people, and instead of Cisco fighting them head on, they just used a PR campaign and basically took them out at the knees. And nobody would buy a Huawei switch after that. And Huawei hasn't been able to get back in the US. So Cisco, it's not like, oh, Cisco doesn't know how to use these tools. They use not only PR defamation, but I would even say like legal battles as a competitive mechanism, and they've done it before. So now let's look at a small startup. Whether there is something to Cisco's claim or not, doesn't matter. They can lock them up in courts. They can defame them globally. They can threaten them. And by the time Neat comes out of this thing, having spent millions of dollars defending himself, no one will care. The news cycle will move on, and no one will remember that whether they actually did it or not. Do you know if Huawei actually cooperated or not? No, you don't care. It's too late. It's years past it. By the time Neat comes out of the woods, it's over. And I think we need to maybe consider, how do we defend these kinds of things and don't let kind of the bullies just beat up little manufacturers, because some of these new companies are bringing some of the most game-changing technology or new ways of doing things. And if we just stymie them and just cut them off at the knees and don't even give them a chance to come out, what does that mean for the industry? Does that keep us in the dark ages? I think we need to have some more protections for smaller manufacturers like that.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things is Huawei itself and got put on a government watch list and a government blacklist, in essence, here in the States, government blacklist. So no government employees could own, at least for official purposes, cell phones and other devices as well.
Tim, if I can just interject, because this is current news. So the CFO of Huawei, the founder's daughter, is currently on trial in Canada. This is an extradition trial. She has been charged by the government of the United States with espionage and with fraud. And Canada had the misfortune of arresting her because she was in transit through Canada at the request of the American government, and this is ongoing. It's I don't I don't know if that was a PR tactic or in fact this is a that this is actual state operated espionage. But I will come back to something that or respond to something that Mike said. Is it possible that Neat is a surrogate for Zoom at this point? That perhaps Cisco can't be commercially concerned about Neat, but perhaps they are, and should be concerned about Zoom, and they are in fact chasing Neat rather than going after Zoom directly.
And doing it early, right?
Yes.
Right. So, and that's. I mean, Cisco didn't become a great company because they're clueless on how to compete in the marketplace. They know what they're doing, and they've got a lot of power behind them. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, I bring you in on this. When you've got DSD coming up here in late March, early April, you've got two manufacturers, right, on your show floor that are going after each other. How do you help your the people, the attendees coming into that, but also help the manufacturers kind of put those things aside, as we are all the majority of the AV industry is going into ISE here. Put those things aside. Yes, there are lawyers involved, and yes, that there will be court battles involved. But as we're going into trade shows and looking at the different products, how do we set those things aside and look at the the benefits and the tenets of each product independently?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question. I think you you have to put those things aside. I mean, in our industry, we've had patent trolls. I'm not calling Cisco a patent troll at all, for the record. But as far as people going after patents and protecting intellectual property, I mean, those laws are put in place for a reason. And I think you have organizations that abuse those, and you have other organizations more like Cisco that are protecting the business that they've invested in over the past however many years they've been in business. What, 20, 30 years they've been in business. So I think there's a fine line in protecting your property. And I've seen other organizations that create a patent just for the sake of creating a patent and then just chase down for a money grab. And obviously that's not what this is here, but we've seen that in our industry, in the digital signage industry, over the past few years. It's calmed down a little bit. It might be getting ratcheted back up here pretty soon. But that's one interesting side of kind of relatable to this story that I see. But to answer your question, I think you have to go to, what are you trying to accomplish by coming to a show, right? And stay out of the politics and really go to what are you trying to accomplish? What project are you trying to fulfill? And who is the best organization to do that? I think people can get caught up in a lot of this type of news, and it clouds their vision and what they're really trying to accomplish, which is to make money for your company, right? I mean, Wolf Vision wants to make money for your company. Brock, you want to make money for your company. I want money for our company. That's why we're in business. So I think some of this stuff can kind of cloud that. So I think it's, staying focused on why you're at the event and why you invested to come to the event. And this other stuff will work itself out in the end.
Yep,
as long as no one storms your booth.
Right.
there have been instances of that. Yes. No. Absolutely.
Yeah. or I've also seen theft. I mean, we have commercial lighting shows that we also produce, and we've had companies say, I had product on my counter. We left last night, and now it's gone.
Now it's gone.
And a lot of the foreign manufacturers are stealing design product ideas and then manufacturing them for a fifth the cost, and then producing them and selling them for a lot less as well. So company, we have a patent, we have a trademark on DSE, the Digital Signage Expo, and our logo, as I'm sure Wolf Vision you do as well. So it's some of these things that you have to protect. But in a case like this, you gotta wonder, as a company as big as Cisco going up against them, it's gonna be a costly venture, as Michael was saying.
Thank you so much for watching this first segment of this week's AV Week. To see the rest of the episode, we talk about Harman Pro's new president and private equity in the world of AV. Click on the link below or go by the website, avnation.tv, avnation.tv.